Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation to present here the Commission's and in particular DG EcFin's assessment of the crisis, how we got into it, and how we could get out of the vicious cycle that we have been confronted with. I would like to present you with a cautiously optimistic view. Yet it will be a sober view. It's not helpful, to engage in wishful thinking. But I think, there are some reasons for optimism. That we may be able, to get out of the almost perfect storm that the euro area has found itself, over the past couple of years. What I would like to do in the next 10 to 15 minutes is, to give you, a very parsimonious view, on how this crisis emerged, because I think that is necessary, to grasp, the kind of response that is necessary to this, very particular type of economic crisis that we face, which is certainly not a usual one, and therefore, some of the usual instruments, may be less able to apply under current conditions. Then I will briefly talk about adjustment and rebalancing, about the pains and gains. That is, the achievements that we have made, and I will argue there are some. We have made some progress, but there have also been significant costs so far, who are unfortunately probably likely, to stay with us for some time to come. And then I will close, with a couple of challenges ahead. So now, the crisis. In my view, there are three elements necessary, to understand, the nature of this specific crisis, and each of the three is necessary because, one alone, does not do the trick. First, I think, it's pretty evident that. At the global scale, in particular, from the viewpoint of the highly industrialized countries, what we have seen in the run-up to 2008, 2009, when the crisis fully erupted, we have seen the building up of a dangerous leverage debt level cycle, in the financial system, with both private and public debt, reaching levels, that we haven't seen in history. So, this fragility, in the financial system and this over leverage, this was sort of a serious accident that was just, waiting to happen. Now, the seriousness with which, this leverage debt crisis, has erupted and broken upon, in particular, the euro area, I think cannot be understood if it's not seen against the imbalances, the major macroeconomic imbalances, that have built up in the area in the years in the run-up before the crisis. It's simple. This debt leverage cycle, we have observed it in the UK, in the US, in the euro area, but in the euro area it was reinforced by the imbalances, that we had, and these imbalances, referred to, both external imbalances within the area, keywords surplus countries on the one hand, current account surplus countries on the one hand, deficit countries on the other hand, but also to internal imbalances within these countries, which reinforced, these imbalances. And these were boom-bust cycles. In some of our member states, related to the construction sector in Spain and in Ireland, related to the public sector in Greece, related to private sector debt in Portugal, where it was basically private households and private corporations, I mean, that ran into these dangerous debt levels. So all these elements, I mean, combined, I mean, and gave us this this dangerous mix of risk factors that we observed. Now, the third element, I think, that is needed to understand it is that at the EU level and at the design level of economic and monetary union, I mean, we were ill prepared for that sort of crisis because there were, I mean, certain gaps, certain flaws in the systemic design of economic and monetary union. And what kept us busy at the Commission and at EcFin in particular, I mean, over the past couple of years has been not least efforts, I mean, to address, I mean, these flaws in the design system, I mean, and to complement, to fill the missing gaps and complement them with new initiatives, I mean, in terms of governance structures, firewalls, etc. And I'll come to that in a moment. Now, these, I would argue, these three elements, I mean, combined to what is sometimes called the doom loop that we have faced over the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, the doom loop comprising a vicious, very dangerous circle between financial stability on the one hand, sovereign debt crisis as one angle of the triangle, and economic growth, or I should rather say the absence of economic growth, or the depressing effect of economic growth, that this dangerous interaction between financial stability and sovereign debt, I mean, had. So what have we done, I mean, to break the negative feedback loop? Now here comes a bit of a complicated chart, but I'm trying, I mean, to give you a flavor, I mean, of the many and complex and interacting elements of our strategy that we have tried to develop, I mean, to get out of this vicious loop and exit the crisis while simultaneously paving the way towards more sustainable growth. On top of this triangle, I mean, you see financial stability. That was, I mean, one of the most pressing, urgent needs, I mean, to restore fundamental financial stability in our systems, because I think, I mean, we have seen, I mean, during the sharp recession in 2009, what a freezing of financial markets, I mean, can do to the real economy within a short period of time. So, I mean, defreezing these financial markets, I mean, returning them to stability, I mean, this was one of the preconditions, I mean, to have our economies, I mean, recovering and getting back on a sustainable growth path. So this has implied, in the short term, I mean, supporting banks, bank funding, bank recapitalization, but it has also implied, and that brings me to the whole compact of structural reforms. It has also implied fundamental reforms, I mean, to the design of our financial systems. I mean, you may have noticed, and you may be aware of the many efforts that have been ongoing in this respect. I mean, from building up a new supervisory structure, the single supervisory mechanism, banking union. I mean, these are just a couple of keywords in this context. But there have also been a lot of more micro-structural reforms, I mean, aimed at, I mean, affecting the behavior of actors in financial markets. I mean, just recently, you know, I mean, we have got the political breakthrough towards introduction of a financial transaction tax. So I mean, there is still a lot of work and I mean, difficult technical work to be done in that context. Also with respect, I mean, to now to building the banking union, I mean, that's been decided by the leaders, and where now, I mean, the technical setup has been defined. But I think a lot has been achieved in that respect. Structural reforms are also important, I mean, to pave the way, I mean, towards sustainable growth in many of our countries, in many of the vulnerable countries. I mean, a broad range of structural reform is needed. I mean, I'm aware that for many of you, I mean, structural reforms often is synonymous with an attack on workers' rights and welfare systems, but I think structural reforms, I mean, should be seen in a much wider context. I mean, structural reforms, I mean, this affects indeed labor markets to some extent. I have spoken about financial markets. There are product markets, capital markets. I mean, institutional structural reforms in many countries, reforms to the administration, to the judicial system. I mean, think about, I mean, what is necessary, I mean, to make Greece again a viable state. So there is much more than labor market reforms. Yet, I don't deny it that, I mean, in some of these countries, we also have seen and noticed from our point of view what we call relatively inefficient labor market and social compacts, which are in need, I mean, to move from a relatively inefficient state, I mean, to a more modern capacitating system, I mean, that helps to empower people, I mean, to succeed in the modern economy. I mean, to take the bull at its horn, I mean, in several of these countries, I mean, they spend some 30% of their GDP on social expenditure, but when you look at the outcomes in terms of inequality, in terms of poverty, in terms of female labor participation, etc., I mean, then, I mean, the outcomes are less satisfactory than one could expect. Okay, nonetheless, yeah, okay. This has to be complemented by also growth stimulating measures, because structural reforms alone, I mean, will not help. There is relatively little, I mean, the EU level, I mean, can do, but at least, I mean, in the Compact for Growth and Jobs, I mean, we have tried, I mean, to give some additional stimulus and to support also the depressed demand sides of our economies. And an example in that context is the capital increase of the European Investment Bank, for example. It's just agreed at the turn of the year, 10 billion additional capital for the European Investment Bank, I mean, which should be able to release some 60 billion euros of additional investment. So some action on this side as well. Now let me come to the issue of sovereign debt. I mean, here I think we have to see that we have an integrated package. An integrated package that means firewalls on the one hand, that is help for the vulnerable countries in terms of the European Stability Mechanism, and in terms of the outright monetary transaction announcement and policy of the ECB, which has greatly helped them to stabilize the government bond markets of vulnerable countries. But those elements, I mean, have to be seen in the context of fiscal discipline and a sustained course of fiscal consolidation. I mean, it's not possible, I mean, to separate these elements from one another, and therefore I think we should take this into account. I mean, when we assess, I mean, the overall say comprehensiveness and integration of the strategy. One major criticism that we are often face, is that our course of fiscal consolidation may be self-defeating. Self-defeating in the sense that the negative impact on growth, may be actually so large, that we end up with a higher deficit than before. Related to this argument is a debate about the size of the fiscal multipliers that is ongoing, where indeed it is the case, and I think we have never denied this, that the short-term fiscal multiplier is higher now than in normal times, because it depends on monetary policy, it depends on the synchronization of measure, on the synchronization of consolidation. If it's done everywhere, it's of course it has negative spillovers. So the multiplier is certainly not a constant, and the cost of fiscal consolidation, is not constant over time. Therefore, some people have argued that we should stop, we should ease, we should postpone, we should delay fiscal consolidation. Now, the answer that the Commission gives in its annual growth survey is that we should pursue and continue to pursue growth-friendly, differentiated consolidation. That means that fiscal consolidation, should follow a structural consolidation path, which allows for variations around cyclical trends. It should be differentiated across countries. That means countries with more fiscal space, can be a bit more relaxed than vulnerable countries, which essentially have little better alternatives than to do it. And last but not least, as I said, consolidation needs to be seen in this context of packaging together with support from the European Stability Mechanism and the ECB's outright monetary transactions. A quick chart to see what kind of progress we have made. The left panel here shows you the general government budget balance for the euro area. What it shows to you, by the way, is, we are not the austerity guys all the time, everywhere, because in the crisis 2008, 2009, it was the Commission that in the European Economic Recovery Program has actually suggested, that now is the period to run deficits, to support demand, but there is also a time to consolidate. Let me tell you, why I think that, we have a bit of a reason for optimism now. I think the tail risks, and tail risks here means actually denomination risks, risks of breakup of the euro area, to be frankly. These tail risks have diminished. A year ago, gloomy headlines dominated about an imminent breakup of the euro area, so cities Willem Beuter, being a prominent example, predicting Brexit, before the end of the year 2012. Now these tail risks, have diminished. Spreads have come down. Financial markets, have stabilized. And also, economic sentiment indicators are beginning, to turn positive. And the last reading that was published just yesterday, has confirmed that we are on some sort of an upward trend here. So let me come to an end. We are slowly getting out of the vicious circle. I think we should be aware that even if now we have this turnaround, the labor market situation is very bad, and unemployment is likely to get worse before getting better in the course of this year. So therefore, tackling unemployment and the social consequences of the crisis will be, I mean, one of the most important challenges ahead of us. And I'm looking forward to the debate, also in the second panel of this session, what we can do in that respect and how we can support this also from the European side. So thank you very much for your attention.